First Person is produced in cooperation with the Far East Broadcasting Company, who rejoice in the stories of changed lives through the power of Jesus Christ. Learn more at febc.org.
You're not going to arrest your way out of some of the challenges that we have. There's not enough money to really solve the challenges that we have. And frankly, only God can really solve the challenges we have.
She left a career in business and advertising to pursue God's call on her life to help inner-city children. Welcome to First Person, where you'll meet this week's guest, Donita Travis. I'm Wayne Shepherd. Thanks for joining us. As you listen, you'll get to know Donita's story and learn about the after-school program called By the Hand that is having a tremendous impact in young lives. If you can't stay with us for the next 20 minutes, please make a note to listen online at firstpersoninterview.com or subscribe to our podcast. Just search for First Person with Wayne Shepherd on your preferred podcast app. That way, you'll never miss an episode. Also, look for us at facebook.com/firstpersoninterview. By the Hand is a Christ-centered after-school program that takes kids by the hand and walks with them from kindergarten through college, loving and nurturing them, mind, body, and soul. The founder, CEO, and president is Donnita Travis, whose own story of God's calling is very exciting. We spoke online.
It is very exciting. I have reflected a lot on how when God plans to do something good, He often does it through one person who's willing to say yes. Mm-hmm. And I had the opportunity of being a person to say yes to God on May 12th, 1997. I was president of an advertising agency that my husband and I had started in Chicago. And I thought I had made the decision, I think, looking back, that God drew me to make the decision. But I had decided to get away for a couple of days just to pray and plan, and got in my car and drove a couple of hours up north to Lake Geneva, mm-hmm. checked into a little roadside motel, and planned on spending just a couple of days praying and planning. And I can tell you, in the quietness of my morning prayer, first day I was there, morning prayer, God whispered a verse from the book of John to my heart. And the verse is, "The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. I've come that you may have life and have it abundantly." And after that verse, and I don't even ever remember memorizing that verse. I've memorized other verses, but it was the verse that came to mind. And then after the verse was just a very clear question. "Donita, will you help kids in Chicago have abundant life?" And, God has spoken to me like that a handful of times in my life, but I knew it was the Lord. And I prayerfully and tearfully said yes.
Yeah. What did your husband and others in your life think about that?
Yeah, they were a little worried. I called my husband from the motel room and was crying and said, "Dear, I really believe that God has given me a vision for my life. It's to help kids in Chicago have abundant life. And I'm so excited about it." And he was kind, but he said, "When are you coming home, honey?" And again, we both were, very accepting of this, but we had no idea what that meant. And so I came home and continued as president of the advertising agency from 1997 through 2000, so about 3 years, and would work in advertising during the day. And then I would volunteer at the Moody Church with kids who lived in the nearby Cabrini-Green housing complex. Mm-hmm. So the woman who was in charge of children's ministry and I, we would get the Moody Church van. We'd drive over every night of the week in the evening hours after work, all day, pick up kids and bring them back to the church. And with a group of volunteers on Monday night, we had homework help Tuesday night, we had dance, which was led by a member of the Joffrey Ballet, who was a member there at the church. Wednesday night, we brought the kids over for Awana. Thursday night, we had a cooking club. Friday night, a movie night. And Saturday, we would go on field trips in the city. And that's how it started in 1997. And did that until early 2000. And in early 2000, I really felt like God was calling me to leave advertising and start By the Hand Club as an after-school program. Shared that with my husband, and he said, "Oh, okay." But I need some time. And he was worried. He needed a plan because I was running the advertising agency, which was really our bread and butter at that point. And he had started a new business, which is very successful today, called Brand Trust, brand consulting company that works with clients all over the world. And so look at God. But he said, okay, we need a plan. I need some time. And his concern was that I would just leave, that I would be compulsive and I would leave. But I knew that God wouldn't call me to do that it would be done in an orderly way and that my husband would be supportive. So in August of 2000, my husband came to me very humbly and very sincerely and said, I think you should leave. I will come back to the agency and run the agency and also run the new company Brand Trust. And I will be fully supportive of you and what you're doing. And he was really sincere. He meant it.
That's fabulous. That's just great.
Yep. So I left the agency and we started By the Hand Club with 16 kids from Cabrini-Green in a room at the Moody Church in March of 2001.
Okay. We're being heard around the country right now, and for those who don't know Chicago, Cabrini-Green is infamous, isn't it, as a place in Chicago that was a very needy place, a place where great ministry was happening through the years, but there was still a lot of need.
That Cabrini-Green was at one time the largest and at other times the most challenging housing project in the country. There were, I'm just guessing from memory, probably 25 mostly high-rise buildings and probably 25,000 people living there.
Yeah.
And they were really experimenting with the concept of putting, everyone who was in high need all in one place. And when the buildings were first built, they were very nice. And the idea was that people would come in, a lot of immigrants coming to the country would come in. That would be their starting place, but it would be a launching pad for them to go out and assimilate into the neighborhoods. But the actual buildings themselves declined over years, and they became sort of a dead end rather than a launching pad. And that's where a lot of the problems originated, and just horrific living conditions and just some terrible stories, memories.
Yeah. The high rises are no longer there.
Yeah, good stories though too. A lot of great families, a lot of famous people, and so a lot of great stories too. But it was a failed experiment. Is really the point that I'm trying to.
Tell me about the children that you're looking to help here. What are the needs that you're meeting?
So to fast forward, we started with 16 kids in 2001 in a room at the Moody Church. Today we're serving 1,800 kids.
Wow.
Had 7,000 through the doors, but we are serving 1,800 kids, kindergarten through college, early career. We take them by the hand and we walk with them holistically. Our vision is abundant life, John 10:10, mission, holistically, mind, body, and soul. And we work with Chicago Public Schools. We're in 6 clubs, 4 under-resourced neighborhoods, primarily on the south and west side, although we're still in Cabrini-Green, 2,000 kids living on welfare in that neighborhood still today. So 4 neighborhoods, 6 clubs, 1,800 kids. We work with Chicago Public Schools. The principals of the schools refer to us kids who are not meeting reading standards, meaning they're the most likely to drop out of school. And our goal is that they would be able to read, they would make good grades in school, they would graduate high school and matriculate on to higher education or military into a living wage or better job, and that they would know Jesus as Lord and Savior and be equipped to share the good news really with not only people all over the world as they go from here, but really into the next generation. And the compounded and multiplied impact of what we're seeing happening at By the Hand, you can't even imagine it. We won't even know until we get to heaven. But I can tell you, the kids come in recommended as most likely to fail. In this last year, 100% of our high school students graduated high school.
Oh, fabulous.
76% went on to higher education or the military. 60% were on the honor roll. Over 80% grew more than a year in reading. And 87% say they have a personal and saving relationship with Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
so
that's incredible.
We're just so happy to be a part of what God is doing through a place called By the Hand Club.
And of course, we'll learn more about By the Hand with Donita Travis as we continue this conversation in a moment. Here's Ed Cannon on the vision for FEBC's weekly podcast.
The primary purpose of Until All Have Heard, of course, is to share the experience that FEBC has because we have staff on the ground in so many oppressive places. But in addition to that, we're trying to speak to you in a way that only the kind of testimonies you'll hear from around the globe can do.
Discover how the gospel is making a difference around the world. Search for Until All Have Heard on your favorite podcast platform, or hear it online at febc.org. My guest is Donita Travis, who is founder, CEO, president of By the Hand, a club ministry with a spiritual goal in Chicago, an after-school program. And Donita, it just has to be, I know you have received awards personally from the city of Chicago, and it just has to be looked at by the city as just a great help to what the Chicago Public Schools and the city are trying to do here.
We do it all for the glory of God.
I understand.
I really believe that more than anything, we're just an incredible witness to not only the city of Chicago, and I'll mention that in a minute, I'll answer your question, but also I've even had people at my church, the Moody Church, which is one of the greatest churches in the world.
Right in the middle of Chicago, isn't it?
In the middle of Chicago. Say, wow, what an example of God, what God can and will do. So, all for God's glory. Great witness. I hope that when the city and others look at us, they say, look at God, look at God. But we do have really great supportive relationships because frankly, you're not going to arrest your way out of some of the challenges that we have. There's not enough money to really solve the challenges that we have. And frankly, only God can really solve the challenges we have. So even folks who maybe are not faith-friendly, and there are a lot of people, in every walk of life, including city government, other places, that are very faith-friendly. But even those who aren't faith-friendly, they realize that this is a good thing for the city and for everyone. So
all that you're doing, you mentioned money earlier, it does take money and it takes volunteers and staff. How do you operate and how does God keep it going?
Well, it is a lot, I'll say that. And it's all those things. It's a lot of money. Our budget this year is $17 million. And you might say, 17 million. But if you look at 1,800 kids and caring for them holistically, our bus budget, just to pick them up from school and bring them to the club and then take them home at nighttime, it's $1 million.
Wow.
Just for busing. And we do again, we have staff, we have reading specialists, college specialists, we have spiritual development specialists, social workers, and you need all of that if you're really going to care for kids holistically. So our budget's 17 million, and if you divide that, by 1,800, you can start doing some math. And then if you divide it, we operate year round by numbers of days and weeks in the days. You'll see why it's that. If you look at, what it really takes to care for 1,800 kids holistically. So $17 million. And I will say God always stretches us. So we never have enough. We never have a budget budget for 2024 that, if we just had the same revenue as 2023, we'd be able to meet the budget. The budget's always a little bit more because we continue to grow and costs continue to go up. So there is a faith component in this. But for 23 years, we've finished every year, 23 years, fully funded. And Charity Navigator has given us 4 stars, the highest rating they can give. So, God provides, but He does it. I say that really all of our achievements, so whether it's funding or whether it's the students' achievements or whether it's having the right staff or whether it's having, the right number of volunteers, the achievements are based on 2 things. God's amazing power to do what He promises to do. You just need to make sure that it's His promise and not yours. So His amazing power, number one, and then also the amazing faithfulness and obedience of His people.
Yeah, and there's one more thing at work here too, and that is, and I don't put you on the spot, but you are well trained in business, and it takes a good sense of business principles, sound principles to operate a $17 million a year budget, and do that largely with donations and grants. I'm sure you get as well, but it's an amazing accomplishment. So I really take my hat off to you, Donita. But I want to hear some stories. I want to hear how God is working with this ministry and what the results are.
I would like to say our website is bythehand.org, and on the homepage, you'll find some stories. And on the homepage, there's a story. It was just added. Love this story. It's of Shacola. And Shacola came to us in the 1st grade, and I first heard about her. She came to us at our By the Hand Club Moving Everest location, which is on the west side of Chicago. And I first heard about her because I heard there was a little girl in 1st grade who spent most of her time just crying and isolated. And the staff, was concerned about her and caring for her. So she was on my radar, and I met her shortly after that. I met her aunt Alma and started just kind of getting a little bit more of the story. And with Shacola, 1st grade, she was removed from her home. She and her 6 siblings were removed from their home with their mother, and they were in the care of DCFS. And Miss Alma, her aunt, had got a phone call at 1:00 in the morning from her Miss Alma's brother and said, "I need you to go get my grandkids." And so Miss Alma, it took her about 2 weeks to be able to put the pieces in place and get approval to go and get her nieces and nephews, 6 of them. 2 weeks later, she was able to go borrow a van and go. And, again, you have to have 6 beds. You've got to have the proper amount of, there was a boy, so he had to have his own bedroom.
Yeah, just imagine.
Do all of that. So she went to pick them up, and for some reason she could only bring 3 of the kids home, and it took her another week or so to get the other 3. So they were just distraught during that whole period, 3 left behind. And finally she was able to get all 6 kids and bring them home with her. And all this happened right before Shacola joined us in the 1st grade. So it happened just weeks before she came to us. And we had Shacola, and we had her little sister who was in kindergarten, Dominique. So we have We have Shacola and Dominique, and then there are several younger and there are a few older, but we had those two. It was so wonderful to watch Shacola start to come out of that shell. And I applaud Miss Alma because the kids had a safe and loving home. And now to hear Shacola just says, they were almost, they couldn't believe it. It was unbelievable that Miss Alma would make oatmeal for them, warm, oatmeal. And I think about how simple oatmeal is.
Yeah.
I take them in and that they had clothes and that it was a safe home and there was an adult always present in the home. And so the kids are, getting adjusted to that, and they're thinking, is this going to last? Is Miss Alma going to send us back? But over time, as Miss Alma really made a home for them and as they became safe and secure, and Miss Alma says that having them at By the Hand Club was important because she knew that she could work and the kids would be cared for. And she also liked the spiritual aspect that they would hear about God. But when she would pick them up at the end of the day, they would have their homework done. They would have been fed dinner and cared for, safe and loving environment, and learn about God. Fast forward, that was first grade, 2015. Today, Shacola is in ninth grade today, a freshman. She's reading at a 12th grade level. She knows Jesus as Lord and Savior. She's leading friends to Christ. And she says these are friends who didn't know God and now they know Jesus. And she's on a full scholarship at a boarding school in Indiana called Culver Academy, which is a girls' boarding school. She was accepted into an Oxford, England summer bridge program this summer. So in other words, these diamonds are living in places like Austin and given the right nurturing, and that's, at home, which Miss Alma did. Miss Alma's really the hero of this story. And Miss Alma's on staff with us today.
Yeah, I was going to ask. Okay.
Yeah. But, that's just one story. And then now Dominique has been accepted to Culver and has full ride scholarship. So you look at how the cycle is broken in terms of Shacola, but also her younger brothers and sisters following in Shacola's footsteps, and then Shacola sharing that with others, that multiplication. I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
I love it. And it's all done in the name of Christ.
All done through Christ and in the name of Christ. Yeah.
It's such a great story of a person faithfully following God's call to leave some things behind in order to pursue something greater. Once again, our guest has been Donita Travis, and the after-school program is called By the Hand. We'll have links to it at firstpersoninterview.com, where you can also share this interview with others. That's firstpersoninterview.com. These stories of faith and calling are supported on First Person by the Far East Broadcasting Company, who celebrates how the Lord uses people to reach other people with the gospel. FEBC's ministry through broadcasts, social media, and apps reaches millions of people each day around the world, communicating God's truth in the heart language of the listener. You can learn more and hear the podcast Until All Have Heard at febc.org. Now, with thanks to my friend and producer Joe Carlson, I'm Wayne Shepherd, inviting you to join us next time for First Person.